In one of my previous videos, I had said that in order to clear any Power BI interview, we should create 10 real world projects. This is project 1. Okay. The difficulty level of this particular project is basic. However, the source dataset used for this particular project I have extracted from kaggle.com, and in the description of this video, I will be sharing with you the dataset used for this particular project. So let us get started. So let us first try to understand what is this project all about. The dataset used in this particular project is related to the direct marketing campaign run by one of the banking institution. When I say marketing campaign, that means a direct calling was done to the potential clients. To these potential customers, what is the data that we have in the dataset? So we can see there is education, default, balance. So this looks to be a bank balance, housing loan, whether the customer has personal loan, contact, day, month, duration, campaign, right? So these are the columns that we see. It's important that we first understand the data set before we even start working on the project. So let us try to understand the columns used in this particular data set. So what do we see in the columns? We see there is age column, which is obviously the age of the potential customer. Then what kind of job that customer is doing, the marital status, what is the education, whether primary, secondary. Then certain columns you may not understand, but don't worry, we'll get to that. There is a default column, then there is bank balance of the customer, whether customer has any housing loan, whether customer has any personal loan, when the customer was contacted, month last year when the previous campaign was done, in which month the customer was contacted, what is the duration of contact. Then we can see there are columns like previous P outcome. The P outcome means the previous outcome, whether previous time when this campaign was run, whether it was success, failure, or unknown, right? So these are the possible options. And the last column we see is Y. That is basically whether the customer successfully purchased the term deposit or not. Okay, right? So let us get started with working on this particular project. So after analyzing the data set of the previous campaign, the business insights that we can share with the business are that the best that we should run the business campaign in the month of May, June, July, August, because that will give us the best outcome. We should target the people who are more than 60 age group, who have done the tertiary education, those who are retired. That will give us the best possible outcome, because this is the target audience wherein the product is working great and providing the best outcome. So let us start working on this particular project right from the scratch. The first thing that we have to do is click on this get data option, and the file that we are going to import is a CSV file. So I'll be selecting this text slash CSV option. I'll click on the CSV file and click on this open button. So we definitely have to perform certain transformations. So I'll click on the transform data. So as we can see, the data looks a mess. So we have to clean this data. How do we clean this? We can make use of this split column functionality, and we can split using this delimiter option. So based on what delimiter we want to split based on this comma, right? So we will select comma each occurrence of delimiter, okay, because we can see that there are multiple commas, okay, and based on these commas we want to create the columns, and we will not select leftmost or rightmost because we want to create column for each occurrence. So I will click on this OK button, and that will give me the columns that are required for this data set. Okay, now what is the next thing that we do? So you need to understand that currently we are working on the data cleaning process. So whatever steps that are required for cleaning of the data, that we will do quickly. So the first thing that we need is that we want to make the first row as header. So I'll click on this use first row as header, and now we can see that first row has become the header of this data set. Okay. Now the next thing that we want to see is whether the data type is correct or not for all the columns. So for age it looks okay. Okay. This is okay. This is also okay. Actually, as we can see that the data type seems to be absolutely okay for all these columns. So I will not make any changes. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to analyze the data set. When I say analyze, that means I want to see the column quality. So let us try to check the column quality of this data set. So if there are any empty values or errors in the dataset, then we will be able to identify using this column quality option. Where do you find this option? Click on this view ribbon and click on this column quality checkbox, and then you will see this. Okay, so let me observe this if there is any problem. So it seems to be okay for all the columns. So luckily we do not have any cleaning to do. Okay, if you see any duplicate values or any values that has errors, you can fix those. In case you see any blank values, you can replace those values with mean, median, mode, whatever, depending upon your requirement, or you can also remove the blank values depending upon how many values are there. Okay, but for this particular data set it looks very clean, so I'm not going to perform anything else. Okay, further, if you want to analyze the data, you can make use of this column distribution feature that will also give you inputs on the distinct values and unique values. So what is distinct values? How many? For instance, let's just see this particular marital status column. There are three distinct values. What is the three distinct values? Married, single, and divorced. These are the three distinct values. What is the unique? Unique means if there is any value that has occurred only once. And further, you can, if you just in case you want to analyze, you can click on this column profile as well. This will give you the statistics of that particular column. So as you can see, when I say statistics, this data is reflecting only for the first 1000 rows. Okay, the data is more than that, but what we observe is that minimum age is 22, maximum age is 61, average age is 42. Okay, and standard deviation and all those values are also given. Anyhow, so this is how you can analyze the data. Luckily for this particular data set, as I said, this is a very basic level project, so purposely I am keeping it very simple. Further, no more cleaning is required, so we can import this particular data set. However, one thing we are observing is that we probably needed one more table that should give us only the customer data, but which is not the case here. There is no unique column, right? That is a problem with this data set. So what we will do, there is no column that gives us the primary key. Okay, there is no customer ID, nothing like that, right? So we need that. How do we do that? We need to create a separate table for the customers. So I will quickly create a new table. So how will I do that? I'll just right click on this and click on this duplicate option. That will give me a new table. Now I will rename this. So I'll rename this table as customers table. So let us rename this table also as bank campaign, and the second table that we have is customers. So if you think about these tables from the perspective of star schema, we know that this bank campaign table will act as a fact table which has got all the transactional values, and this customers table will act as a dim table which has got all the informative or the fixed data. Okay, so all the transactional columns we want to delete. So how do we do that? We do not need this p outcome, previous, p days, campaign, the duration, month, day, contact, loan. All these columns are not required, so I will remove these columns. Okay, apart from that, if we talk about housing loan balance, again balance is something that we do not need in this customers table. What we need is age, job, marital status, education. Default is also not required, so I'll remove this. This looks great now. So we have got the customers table and we have got the bank campaign table, and however there is one thing that is still missing, and that is a column which has unique value, that is customer ID. So we'll have to create a new column. So click on this add column option, then click on this index column. Okay, we want to start from 1, so I will select from 1, and this will give me a new column. What is the name of this column? This is called as, so let us call this column as customer ID. Okay, and let us move this column to the beginning of this table. So now we have created a customer ID column in the customers tables, right? But it's important that there should be interaction between these two tables. Okay, so we need the same column in the bank campaign table as well. So because this is all customers data, so what I will do, I will create a new column in this particular table as well. So what I will do, I'll just click on this add column again, go to index column from 1 and create this new column. Let us call this new column also as customer ID. Okay, and again we will move this to the beginning of this table. In case you find that okay, any of the column is not required for your analysis, you can delete that particular column. Okay. Now that we have the customer ID columns in both the tables, I think we are good to conclude the cleaning part, and click on this close and apply button so that we import the data into the Power BI desktop. So our job is completed from Power Query, and now the data is getting loaded to Power BI desktop. So now that we have got both these tables, within the customers tables we have got this age column. However, there is one thing that is still missing, and that is age group. We need to categorize the age values between the groups 0 to 30, 30 to 60, and more than 60. So for that I will need a new column. So what I'll do, I'll just click on this new column option. Let's just say that the new column that we want to create is the age group column, and within the age group column we want to categorize the data, as I said. So for that we'll be making use of the switch function. So this is how the DAX would look like. This has got a switch function, and within the switch function we are saying that if the customer age is less than equal to 30, then the age belongs to 0 to 30 group. If it is less than equal to 60, then it is 30 to 60, and the for the other cases it is above 60. Okay, so very simple DAX. You can either type in this code, or you can simply make use of the chat GPT to copy this particular code. Okay, so the moment I hit the enter button, I can see the values reflecting in the age group column. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to analyze the data. So what I'll do, I will create a very simple column chart, and within this column chart I will, on the x-axis I want to add the age group, and on the y-axis I want to have this p outcome column. Okay, now this is giving me the data. Now just by looking at this data, what we understand is the count for above 60 is the lowest, and the count for 30 to 60 is the highest. But is this really a correct analysis? Because this is the count based on the volume. What about the success rate? So what I'm trying to say is, if we apply the 10 customers that belongs to 30 to 60 group, what is the success rate? If we reach out to 10 customers that belongs to above 60 work group, what is the success rate? Because that would be a more appropriate way to understand highest success rate. But how do we find that? So in the numerator we need total number of successful cases, and in the denominator we need the total number of customers we reached out to. Okay, if you have a look at this p outcome column, and you first of all you need to ignore these unknown values, because in the previous campaign these first three values are relevant. Okay, unknown is something that we have not reached out to these guys, so we don't know. But for these three values we know that we reached out to them. So in the numerator we will have the total number of successful cases, that is the success values, and in the denominator we need the total number of customers that we reached out to, and that total number of customers will be success plus failure plus other. So now based on this logic we have to make a DAX formula. So what I'll do, I will click on this bank campaign column and click on this new measure option. Let's just say that the new DAX that I want to create is success by age group. So the first thing that we need for creating the DAX is a calculate function, and within the DAX function we will be making use of the divide function. So I'll be making use of the divide function. Within the divide function, the first thing that I want is numerators. So what did we discuss? Within the numerator we want to have the total number of successful cases. How do we get the total number of successful cases? Bank campaign table and p outcome column we have got the successful cases. So in order to count the rows we will be making use of the count rows function, and within the count rows function simply mentioning the table will not help. So suppose if I put the table name directly, that is bank campaign, is that good enough? No, we want to further analyze the data based on the p outcome column. So count rows will not help. Within the count rows we'll have to make use of the filter function. So the moment I make use of the filter function, now I can mention the table name, that is bank campaign, and I need to provide the filter expression. So what do we need in this filter expression? We need the column that is called as a p outcome. So I'll be selecting p outcome column, and within the p outcome column there are certain values. What are those values? The values are success. So I'll be selecting success. So I'll be selecting success. and then I will close this bracket, again close this bracket and put a comma. So now how do we create the denominator? We will again make use of the count rows function, and within the count rows function again we will need the filter function, and within the filter function we need to provide the same table name, and the table name is bank campaign. So I'll be mentioning this bank campaign table, comma, expression that we want is p outcome column. So I will be selecting the p outcome column, but this time this p outcome column should include all the three values. So I'll be making use of the in operator, and within this in operator I'll be making use of the curly brackets, and within these curly brackets I'll be including all the three values. What are those three values? The first one was success, the second one was failure, and the third one is other. Okay, now I will close the brackets, and again I will close the brackets, but before I close the last bracket I want to tell Power BI that, see, I want to filter this data based on the age group only. Okay, so for that I'll be making use of the all except function, and within the all except function I need to mention about the age group column. So I'll be mentioning the table name as customers, and the column that I have been talking about is age group. So I'll be selecting age group. So, and then I'll close the brackets. Now I'll close all the brackets, and then I'll hit the enter button. Now as we can see, we have the DAX ready. So now let us create a new visual that is again the same column chart. Okay, and this time around on the x-axis we are going to have the age group, and on the y-axis we are going to make use of the newly created DAX. On the y-axis we'll be making use of the newly created DAX, that is success by age group. And one thing I want to do is I want to select this DAX and convert this to percentage. Okay, so I'll be selecting the percent, and up to 2 decimals is fine. So again I'll go back, and if you see now this data is reflecting in the form of percentage. Okay, this looks a bit smaller, so I'll just copy this formatting from this to this one. Now if we compare these two charts and try to analyze the data, the outcome is exactly opposite. For the 30 to 60 we thought we have the best outcome, but that is not the case. We have the least outcome or the lowest success rate for 30 to 60 age group, and for the above 60 we have got the highest success. Well, that means if we are reaching out to 100 people above 60 age group, 46 will be successful cases, whereas if we talk about 30 to 60, if we are reaching out to 100 people, 15 to 16 would be the success rate, which clearly means that we should be focusing on the above 60 age group. Okay, just like we have created this DAX based on the age group to find out the success rate, similarly we will be creating few more DAX measures based on the job and based on the education, and we will try to analyze the data like this. Now similarly let us create one more measure to analyze the data based on the education. So what I'll do, I will go to the data view again, copy this particular DAX formula, and again I'll click on this table, and I will simply create the new measure. And this time around let's just say that this new measure, the name of this new measure is success by education. Let's just say that this new measure is success by education. Everything else remains the same. Only thing that changes is instead of age group, what we want is the education. So what I'll do, I'll remove this, and instead of this what we need is the education. I will click the enter button, and then I think the measure is ready for making the use in the visual. So let us try to see if this really works. So what I'll do, I will first of all I will remove this particular measure because we just created for the analysis purpose. This one is something that we need. So this new measure, again what I'll do, select the same column chart. On the x-axis let's have the education, and on the y-axis we need the newly created measure, that is success by education. And if we try to analyze this data, what we understand is tertiary education is giving the best outcome. So what I will do, I'll again go to the data view, and to this newly created measure, I will convert this to percentage so that it looks better. And again, I'll go to this tab, and if you see now, okay, I'll do the formatting also quickly. So in this particular chart, we need to ignore this unknown data, and if we focus on the education, if the customer has completed the tertiary education, then it is more likely that it will be successful. So the customers who have only completed the primary, the probability is less. Okay. So until now, what we are observing is above 60, and the guys who have done the tertiary education are more likely to buy the term plan. Now, similarly, we would be creating one more measure that is based on the job that they are doing. So again, I'll copy the exact same measure, copy this, and again I'll create a new measure in the same way. Let's just say that the name of this new measure is success by job, and instead of education, this time around what we need is a job. So I will hit the enter button, and my measure is ready. So the next thing that I want is, I want to create a graph similar one. I want to create a visual, a similar one, and again I'll be having on the x-axis the job type, and on the y-axis we'll need the newly created measure. If we try to, okay, before we analyze, let us quickly do the formatting so that this looks better. So I will quickly copy the formatting. Now if we try to analyze this data, one more thing I need to do is select this measure and convert this to percentage so that we understand this. Now if we try to analyze this data, retired people, student, unemployed people, these are more likely to buy the purchase plan. And now if you try to analyze the data, what we are observing is that retired people, students, or the unemployed people are the best possible potential customers for the marketing campaign. So from these three visuals, the business insight that we can share with the business stakeholders is that we should be focusing more on the age group that belongs to above 60 age, those who have completed the tertiary education, and those who are retired. This would be the best possible scenario. On the contrary, we are also observing that the people who belongs to 30 to 60 age group, who have done the primary education or are doing the blue collar job or the entrepreneurs less are less likely to buy the subscription. Now let's just say that the next visual that I want to create is a line chart. So I'll be selecting this line chart visual, and within this line chart visual, on the x-axis what I want is a month column. So on the x-axis I'll be selecting this month column, and on the y-axis what I need is the p outcome column that we have been using, that is giving us the previous outcome. Okay, so this is the previous outcome column, and we can see that this is the line chart that has been created. I want to do a bit of formatting, so I'll right click and go to the format background option. On the y-axis also I want to add the markers, so I will enable the markers. So depending upon your requirement, you can also convert this line chart to the area chart. So this is currently a line chart, so you can also convert this to a area chart, so it will be looking something like this. Okay, let's just say that I want to keep this as an area chart, and the next thing that I want to do is, now let us quickly create two more visuals, and those would be the new card options that we have. The first thing that I want is total number of customers. So what I will do is I'll select this visual, and within this visual I want to add the customers. So I'll be selecting this customer ID, and as we can see we are getting the count. So I'll do a bit of formatting quickly. I will enable the title, and let's just say that the title is, and let's just say that total customers is the title that I want. I'll make this bold, and the background color, let's just say I want to change to light blue, and I'll make this center aligned. Next thing is that I want to remove the label, so I'll click on this call out option, and I will remove this label. Now this looks better. Now we have got the total customers. So now that we have this visual, I will similarly create one more card, and that will give me the total number of successful uh, cases in the previous campaign. So for that I will again create this visual, and within this visual I want to select the P outcome column, and within the P outcome column I want to filter the data based on the successful cases. So what I will do, I will drag this P outcome column to the filter page, and then I want to filter only based on the successful cases. But this is showing me the first value, but so I'll click on this button, and in the aggregation I'll be selecting the count. Now this gives me the expected outcome, that is 1.511. So I'll copy the formatting from this visual to this visual. So let's just name this as previous campaign success because these are the successful cases. Similarly, using the Y column, I want to find the total number of subscribers to the term deposit. So what I will do, I'll need to do the formatting for this one also. So I will copy this Y column and drag this here, and I will select yes. This tells me that around 5k people have subscribed to the term deposit. Now I will quickly copy the formatting part and give this a title. The last few things that I want to do are I want to add this particular tree map, and within this tree map I'll be adding the category as marital status, and within the values also I want to add the same marital status as a column. I want to also display the data labels for this thing, so that, and I will also copy the formatting for this one. So I'll copy this formatting, and so this tells me how many customers were married, single or divorced, and based on that also I can do the filtering and validate my outcome. The last thing that I would want to do is I will add one more tree map, and that would be based on the education. So what I will do, I will quickly do the same thing. I will add this tree map, and within this tree map I want to add the category as education, and even in the value section I will add the same education option, and I will again copy the formatting of this visual. Now these tree maps will do two things. One is that it will give me the values for the specific category, whether it is education or whether it is marital status. What is the count of the customers who are married, or what is their education, that count I will get. And apart from that, I will be able to filter the visuals that I have using these tree maps. Okay, so this is the benefit of using the tree maps. So the last thing that I want to do is I want to make this dashboard make a little bit more presentable. For that, what I need to do is I need to click on this view ribbon and select the appropriate theme that suits my dashboard. And so based on your requirement, you can figure out which is the theme that you want to select. I am selecting this particular theme. Okay, and this is how we can see. So now we can see that finally the dashboard that we wanted to create is ready. Please understand that this is a very simple dashboard, and I have tried to keep things simple as much as possible. As I said in the beginning of the session, I am sharing the data set for creating this particular project. Please make sure that you practice and create this project. My name is Srikanth, and I thank you so much for watching this video till the very end.